فرزند زہرا یہ حالات برے ہیں۔
کاشانہ بصیرت ایک ایسا مکمل یوٹیوب چینل جس پر محروم بصارت کے لیے بالخصوص اور تمام افراد کے لیے بالعموم سینکڑوں کی تعداد میں اسلامی کتب دستیاب ہیں۔ لہذا گزارش ہے کہ آپ اپنی ذمہ داری نبھاتے ہوئے کاشانہ بصیرت کو سبسکرائب کرنے کے ساتھ ساتھ بیل آئیکن کو پریس کیجئے تاکہ آپ علم کے حصول کے ساتھ ساتھ مذہب اہل بیت کی اشاعت میں بھی اہم کردار ادا کرتے رہیں۔ کاشانہ بصیرت۔
فرزند زہرا یہ حالات برے ہیں۔
Part number 24 and page number 244. The Almighty Allah sent an angel to him who came to him when he was alone and stood before him. The angel said, "May God bless you. You are a human being among the ignorant beasts and oppressors. I bring you greetings from God, and the deity of the creatures has sent me to you so that I may give you glad tidings and remind you of the affairs of the world and the hereafter that are hidden from you. So you must accept my glad tidings and advice, and you must not disregard my statements. You must get rid of the world and free yourself from the worldly desires. You must become disinclined to this hateful country and rulership. You must leave this temporal rulership whose end result will be regret, and seek the kingdom which will never decline, and try for the joy that never ends, a comfort that will never change. You must be truthful and just because you are the leader of the people whom you are calling towards paradise." When Yusasif heard the angel's discourse, he fell down to prostrate before Almighty, and he said, "I am obedient to the commands of God, and his commands is his favor. So command me about your matter, as I am thankful to you and to that being who has sent you to me, because he has done a favor to me, and he did not leave me among the enemies. Thus I will make effort for that being from whom you have brought this." The angel said, "I will come back after some days and take you out of here. So you be prepared and take care." Thus Yusasif made a firm determination to leave that place without telling anyone about it. When the time of his departure arrived, the angel came to him in the middle of the night and said to Yusasif, "Get up, let's go immediately." Yusasif arose and departed with the angel, and no one knew about it except his wazir, because when he was mounting, this handsome young man whom Yusasif has appointed over the administration of the towns came to him, and after paying due respects asked, "Where are you going, Prince?" "Oh, our former, with the perfect wisdom, we are in dire circumstances at this time. Are you leaving us because of these problems? Please stay with us, because after coming into this world, we grew up in comfort and prosperity, and we never faced any hardship." Yusasif remained silent for some time. Then he said, "You stay in your houses in the city with your families, because I have to go where I am being sent. Thus, if you help me in this, you will share the reward." After that, he mounted and left according to divine commands. But after riding for some time, he had a dismount because his wazir was holding the reins of his beast, protesting and wailing and saying, "How will I face your parents, and what explanation will give to him? They would kill me. How can you bear such hardships when you are not even used to them? How can you bear loneliness when you have not remained alone even for a single day? Can your body tolerate hunger, thirst, and change of atmosphere?" The prince comforted him and showed him his concern. He also gave him the horse and equipments. So the wazir kissed his feet and said, "Oh, my chief, don't leave me here. I will come with you wherever you go, as there is nothing here after you. And if you don't take me along, I will go out in the desert and never meet any human being." Yusasif again comforted him and said, "O Wazir, do not think anything except goodness, because I am sending you to the king and advising you about him, that he should behave with you in a nice way." Then he took off the royal dress and gave it to the wazir and said, "You wear my clothes." And he also gave him that ruby which he wore in his crown. He told him, "Take this with my horse, and when you reach the king, give him the ruby after paying respects to him, and also convey my greetings to him. Tell him that when I am contemplated on things that are permanent and those which are temporal, I became inclined to that which is permanent and became declined with the temporal matters. And when I learnt about my reality and genealogy, I became aloof from them and the enemies and relatives. Thus I left the enemies and relatives and cut off myself from my reality and genealogy. When my father sees the ruby, he would be happy, and when he sees you wearing my clothes, he will remember me and mention the love I have for you. After that, through you only I forbid my father to act with you in any unacceptable manner." Thus the Wazir returned and Yusasif moved on. He continued to walk till he came a wide place. When he raised up his head, he saw a huge tree over a spring water. It was a very beautiful tree having so many branches and very sweet fruits. So many birds had flocked on the tree that one cannot count them. The scene elated him and he moved forward to reach near it. He was trying to understand what it all signified. He took it to be a glad tiding towards which he was called. And the spring of water he compared with wisdom and knowledge. The numerous birds stood for people who would gather upon it and accept religion from him. As he stood there, he saw four angels walking in front of him. He followed them till they lifted him up in the atmosphere and took him away and bestowed him that knowledge and wisdom which he used to get from middle and the last things, and he was also given the knowledge that was to come at the last. Then they brought him back to the earth, and the four angels stayed with him, and he stayed in that area for a long time. Then he reached the land of Solabut, and his father learned of his arrival. Thus he and all the dignitaries of the kingdom came and paid respect to him. The people of his country also arrived with their relatives, greeted him, and sat on before him. Yusasif laid out the carpet for them and spoke to them about many things. He told them to pay attention to him and prepare themselves to contemplate on divine wisdom, which is the light of souls, and that they must rely on knowledge, which is the guide to the right path. They must awaken their intellects and understand the difference between right and wrong and between guidance and deviation, and also know that it is the religion of truth that the Almighty Allah revealed on the prophets, messengers, and the people of the previous centuries. And that Almighty Allah has bestowed us these blessings. He has done a favor upon us and in this way saved us from the fire of hell, except that man was able to reach the heavens and enter there without being perfect in faith and who performs the good deeds. So you must struggle in this regard so that you may achieve eternal comfort and a life that will never leave you. Those of you who bring faith, they should not do so in hope of material wealth and worldly benefits. Your religion should be in anticipation of the heavenly kingdom and salvation. It should be in a hope of salvation from deviations and prosperity in the hereafter, because the worldly kingdom is going to end sometimes or the other. Its players will be over. Thus, one who is deceived by it shall be destroyed and degraded. If you believe what religious people have faith in, you will realize that death is attached to your bodies, and along with your bodies is also subdues your soul. You must also know that just as birds are incapable of defending themselves against the predators, except through the strength of their wings and legs, in the same way you also cannot get salvation except through your good deeds. Your Majesty, you and your officials must think deeply on what I am saying and take lesson from it. They must cross the sea in which a boat is always present. They must cross the desert in which the facilities of transportation are always available. They must continue to travel on your way till the time you have the lamp, and along with the pious continue to increase the treasure of good deeds. You must become their associates in their good works. You must follow them properly. You must become their helpers. You must go on with your deeds in such a way that along with you they must go enter the illuminated kingdom. You must accept the effulgence and remembrance of your duties. You must beware of worldly desires, liquor, and sensual wants. You must keep away from every evil may cause the destruction of the body. You must refrain from anger, haste, malice, and backbiting. If you are given something that you don't like, don't pass it on to someone else. Keep yourself pure and clean. Keep your intentions pure so that when you die, you may be on the right path. After that, he departed from the land of Solawat and traveled to many areas propagating religion and reached to the land of Kashmir. He toured the place and gave a new life to the dead heart of the people of this country, and he died during this period. Leaving the mortal body, his soul flew up to the ethereal world. Before his death, he summoned his disciple named Ayabad, who was serving him in sincerity and was a perfect man in all regards. He made a bequest to him in which he stated that it was time for him to depart from the world. You must fulfill all your duties. You must never give up truth and continue to remain on piety and worship. Thus he ordered Ayabad to prepare a place for him to lie. Then he stretched out his legs and turned his head west and his face to. He died in this position. The author says that narrations that, like the above and similar reports about the people with long lives are not relied upon us to prove the occultation and its recurrence because occultation is proved authentic on the basis of the traditions of the Holy Prophet and the Holy Imams. But in my view, after the divine prophets and messengers, a number of rightful guides and righteous people receive occultation from Almighty Allah, and our opponents also do not deny this. All the narrations on these subjects are correct. In addition to this, there are traditions of the Holy Prophet and Holy Imams regarding the 12th Imam, His Eminence the Qaim, and his occultation, and that the time of occulation shall prolong and hearts will harden, and people shall despair of his reappearance. Then Almighty Allah will bring him out, and the earth shall be filled with this effulgence. Through his justice and equity will be destroyed all the injustice and oppression. No one denies this except that they agree to these views and in spite of that intend to put off the divine light and wish to falsify his religion. And Allah does not want except to perfect his light and his sword exalt his word and reveal the reality of truth and prove falsehood false, even though it may be extremely despicable to the deniers. This is the promise of Allah to the righteous through the tongue of the chief of the prophets. Nothing else is intended from this tradition and other traditional reports like this, except that all the opponents and supporters who are inclined to the traditions like this. So, when they become successful in this journey due to this book, they should aspire to become aware of the whole matter. Then they must become familiar with one who denies and one who views and one who is in doubt. Through one who accepts, they must increase their insight, and one who denies it may have the proof established upon him by Allah. Those who are in doubt whether they should accept it or not must be invited for discussion on unseen and the occurrence and of occultation. If it is done, it would be must probably convince them that discussions about right matters do not increase anything except emphasis and evidence. It is like gold that when heated in the fire becomes purer and more beautiful. Allah the Mighty and the High has concealed His great name at the beginning of the chapter of the Holy Quran. When you supplicate through them, it is accepted, and when you ask Allah through it, you are given what you ask for. Allah the Mighty and Sublime mention words like Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Mim Ra, Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Mim Sod, Qaf Ha Ya Ain Sod, Ha Mim Ain Sin Qaf, Ta Sin Mim, Ta Sin and Yasin, etc. for two reasons. One is because of the veil on eyes of infidels and polytheists from remembrance of Allah and the Messenger. The Quran says, Allah has indeed revealed to you a reminder and apostle. The infidels and polytheists did not have the capability to hear the Quran, so Almighty Allah revealed their great name in different letters at the beginning of some chapters. These were letters of their language, and they were not familiar with those broken letters. When they heard whose words, they were astounded, and they said that they would hear that which will come after it with attention. After that, they heard the following verses with attention. Thus, the proof was established for the deniers, and the sight of those who agreed to it was increased. Some people remained in doubts, who only had the courage to argue in a doubtful matter and do not reach to the proper conclusion even after that. The second purpose of revealing the broken letters at the beginning of some chapter was that so that the persons of infallibility and purity may be specialized when with them through which they may establish the proof and by them they may show miracles. If the Almighty Allah had made the knowledge of those letters common for all the people, it would have been against wisdom and would have corrupted the divine plan. No one from the fallibles could be trustworthy that he should have prayed through these letters against the messenger prophet or the tested believers. It would also not have been proper for Allah to not have accepted the supplication because he has promised it, and it would have been going against his word. Therefore, it was only proper for him to give the knowledge of these letters to few persons who may become an exemplar for the people, and not those who have exceed the limit like Balaam. When he wanted to pray against the Prophet Musa, he forgot the great name and had to flee from there. It is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Here the translation is, and recite to them the narrative of him to whom we give our communications, but he withdraws himself from them. So the shaitan overtakes him. So he is of those who go astray. Allah the Mighty and the Sublime did this so that people may know excellence for one who has as he is eligible for it. He did not make it free for all, as the same thing is expected from common people, as was seen from the Balaam Woor. Thus, when it is possible for the Almighty Allah to conceal His great names in the letters at the beginning of some chapters of His book, which is His proof, it is also possible for Him to conceal His proof from the believers and others, because Allah the Mighty and Sublime knows when He would not reveal him till the majority of the people do not act against the divine commands and become eligible for execution. But their killing shall not be permissible if their loins have believers. And if the proof of Allah does not kill them, it was also not be right, as they must be deserving death. In such circumstances, oculation becomes a necessity. When they all separate and their loins contain no more believers, Allah will reveal His proof and He will eliminate His enemies. Don't you see that if a married woman commits she is not stoned to death till she does not, if it is prescribed, except that that Muslim man may take up the responsibility of its guardianship. The same conditions apply to the one who has a believer in his loins, but at the same time he is eligible for death penalty. In that case, also he is not killed till the believer child come out from him, and no one knows this except the Almighty Allah and His divine proofs, and none else can establish divine penalties. This is why Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam did not take up arms against his enemies for 25 years after the passing away of the messenger of Allah. Narrated to us Abu Jafar Muhammad bin Masroor, that narrated to us Hussein bin Muhammad bin Amir from his uncle Abdullah bin Amir, from Muhammad bin Abu Amr, from one who mentioned it to Abi Abdullah, that he asked Abi Abdullah why Amir al-Mu'mineen did not take up arms against his opponents during the initial period of his tenure. The Imam replied, the translation is due to the following verses of Quran. Here the translation is, had they been widely separated one from another, we would surely have punished those who disbelieved from among them with a painful punishment. The narrator says that he asked what was the meaning of the word. The Imam replied that it implies those believing trust presence in the loins of the infidel. In the same way, the reappearance of Qaim will not take place till the trusts of Allah the Mighty and Sublime are not born. When those trusts take birth, the Imam will appear to the enemies of Allah and eliminate them all. Narrated to us Muhammad Muzaffar bin Jafar bin Muzaffar Alawi. He said, narrated to us Jafar bin Muhammad bin Masood from his father, from Ali bin Muhammad, from Ahmad bin Muhammad, from Hassan bin Mehboob, from Ibrahim Kharkai, that he said, I asked Abi Abdullah, or someone asked him, may Allah give you good reward, and Ali, not firm in the religion of Allah, he replied, yes, he was firm and strong. The narrator asked, then how could the people subdue him, and he did not defend himself, and neither did he stop them? The Imam said, there is a verse in the book of Allah which stopped him from it. What verse is that? Asked the narrator. Imam said, the translation is, had they been widely separated one from another, we would surely have punished those who disbelieved from among them with a painful punishment. It was so because the believing trusts of Allah, the Mighty and the Sublime, were present in the loins of the infidels and hypocrites. Therefore, it was not possible for Ali alayhi salam to kill their ancestors till the trusts do not take birth. When the trusts came out, Ali alayhi salam attacked them and eliminated them. In the same way, the reappearance of our Qaim will not take place till the trusts of Allah do not take birth. After that, he would subdue his opponents and eliminate them. Here the translation is, had they been widely separated one from another, we would surely have punished those who have disbelieved from among them with the painful punishment. The Imam said, if the Almighty Allah removed the believers from the loins of the infidels, he would punish the infidels. The report about people who lived a long age was mentioned to us by Abdul Hassan Ali bin Abdullah bin Ahmad Faqih. He said, narrated to us Makai bin Ahmad Barazi, that he said, I heard Ishaq bin Ibrahim say, I reached the house of Yahya bin Mansur at the age of 97 years to see the Indian king of Kanuj. We asked him his age. He said that his age was 925 years and that he was a Muslim. He narrated, the Messenger of Allah sent 10 of his companions to me, including Huzaifa bin Yaman, Amr bin As, Abu Musa Ashari, Saib Rumi, etc. They invited me to Islam and I accepted it. When he kissed the letters of the Holy Prophet, I asked him, in spite of your physical weakness, how do you sit for the ritual prayer? He replied, the Almighty Allah has said, those who remember Allah standing and sitting and lying on their sides. I asked him, what is your diet? He said, I need a little once a week. I asked him about his teeth, and he said, they have changed 20 times. In his stable, I saw an animal larger than an elephant, which is called Zinfil. I said, in what way do you make use of it? He replied, he carries the dirty clothes of the servants to the washerman. The extent of this kingdom was having length and breadth of 4 years of travel, and his capital was 50 farsakhs from all sides. On every gate there was 12,000 troops, and so that if any attack is launched from there, they may tackle it effectively without needing any enforcement. The king himself stayed at the center of his capital. I heard him say, I reached a western country and saw a desert in which there was no vegetation. After traveling for some time, I reached the people of Musa alayhi salam. The roof of their houses were equal in height, and the storehouses of rations were located outside the town. They brought home some rations and left the rest in the storehouses. The graves of their dead were inside their houses, and their orchards were located at a distance of 2 farsakhs. None of them were old in age, and I did not see any of them ill or on the verge of death. There was a market also where one would go if one wanted anything and weigh and take whatever one liked without the shop owner being present there. When they wanted to pray, they would come, pray, and then go back. There was no fights among them ever. They spent all the time in prayers and never talked of anything except about God and death. There was a market also where one would go if one wanted anything and weigh and take whatever one liked without the shop owner being present there. When they wanted to pray, they would come, pray, and then go back. There were no fights among them ever. They spent all the time in prayers and never talked of anything except God and death. The author says, if our opponents consider the life of Sarbanak, the king of India, as possible, they must not present any excuse with regard of the age of the proof of Allah, and there is no power and strength except Allah.